Welcome to EVTN News. I have a full slate of news stories today. About a month ago, I said that things were going to pick up, and they sure did. And I'm getting stories, a bunch of stories all the time, and I have a lot of stories in the description, so take a look there. First story we're getting to is Vatican removes nuncios from Taiwan. Monsignor Araldo Catalan, a 20-year veteran of the Vatican's diplomatic corps, will become Pope Francis' new envoy to the Central African nation. But the significance of Catalan's move isn't his new job, it's the post he's leaving, listed simply as China, in parentheses, Taipei. So the Vatican and I know the NBC, the media outlet, they call it Chinese Taipei, which is Taiwan. They refer to it as Chinese Taipei because it's a disputed territory between China, and the United States recognizes it as its own nation. But the Vatican lists it as Chinese Taipei. There you go. Makes sense. NBC, particularly communist, they list it also. They also call it Chinese Taipei. Last week, Hong Kong paper Ta Kung Pao published 4 separate articles savaging Hong Kong's emeritus bishop Joseph Zen, Cardinal Zen. 90 years old, has remained a totemic figure for persecuted Chinese Catholics and pro-democracy advocates. Ta Kung Pao is owned by Chinese Communist Party's liaison office, basically the government department charged with overseeing the Hong Kong government. The fulmination against Zen in a state paper is maybe nothing especially new, though the sheer and sudden volume of it is remarkable. What is new is the Government Newspapers Association of Zen with Jimmy Lai, the jailed Catholic newspaper publisher, and the accusation that Zen uses his status as a clergyman to disrupt life in Hong Kong, while lamenting that it is difficult for the government to regulate or eliminate these religious groups or individuals despite the fact that they have committed many crimes. So good job on the Vatican propping up the regime of China. Speaking of communists, moving to Chicago. February 7th. On February 7th, following an Illinois judge's ruling that nullified the statewide mandate of covering your face for schools, the superintendent of schools for the Chicago Archdiocese says that face coverings will continue to be required for students in Chicago schools. February 10th, they reversed their course. Catholic schools can now make masks optional, according to an abrupt shift in the Archdiocese's virus policy. On February 8th, we'll take a step back. Parents at Queen of the Martyrs Catholic School in Evergreen, Illinois, located in Cook County, protested after the Archdiocese removed its principal for making optional at the school. Principal M. Jacob Mathias told Chicago media he was placed on administrative leave and did not expect to be reinstated to his position. So SSPX removed this principal because he didn't go along with the archdiocesan policy, he went along with the public school policy. The public school policy was less restrictive than the Chicago Archdiocese. How ridiculous and pathetic is that? But of course you knew that. Okay, SSPX also announced he will merge 123 parishes by July 1st. There will be 57 churches that will no longer be used, so they will effectively be closed. So Novus Ordo Catholicism in Chicago is thriving under Cardinal SSPX. Is this the new evangelization? Is this the new Pentecost? Well, okay, more from Chicago. Resistance. The Institute of Christ the King. They resisted, and this is great. It's good to see. So there was a 1 Peter 5 article. I don't know if this guy's a parishioner at the Institute in Chicago. I think he might be. But he talked about the day the first Sunday where Cardinal Cupich banned Latin masses from being said. Of course, the Institute thing, just some clips. He said, before driving into the Rosary Rally, there's a Rosary Rally outside of the cathedral. He said, my family made our way to the regularly scheduled 9 a.m. Low Mass at the National Shrine of Christ the King, administered by the Institute on the south side of the city. The shrine is currently having Mass in an old parochial school building adjoining their magnificent church, which is undergoing renovations from the ravages of a 2015 fire. Upon arrival, it was readily apparent that the already packed parking lot was overflowing. Now, a little bit more about this church undergoing renovation. It was damaged, and so Cupich he gave the deed of the church to the Institute. So the Institute owns their church. They own the deed for the church, so they're not giving it back. He said, it is here that parishioners who wish to remain anonymous confided to me that the schedule for the traditional Latin Mass will remain as it has at the Institute's National Shrine. There are no scheduling changes occurring due to Cardinal Cupich's unjust edict, which he intended to apply to all traditional Latin Masses within the diocese. In other words, everything is business as usual at the Institute in Chicago. With that said, if and when this story develops, additional reporting will certainly be needed on this topic. There's going to be pushback. We'll see what it is. He said they proceeded to the cathedral, prayed all 3 mysteries of the Rosary, and this will occur on the first Sundays of every month until further notice. We'll go over to Montana here. On February 1st, 2022, Bishop Vetter made the decision to rescind his original position regarding the continuation of the Latin Mass in the Diocese of Helena. The position of the Diocese of Helena is that all Masses according to the Missal of 1962 are to cease as of Ash Wednesday. This was announced at St. Richard in Columbia Falls on February 6th via a sermon by Father Sean Raftis. Bishop Vetter did not issue an official statement and instead stated that Father Bartolison, via Father Bartolison, that he delegated authority to Father Raftis and Father Lebsock to announce the new policy. A written transcript of Father Raftis' homily is available on this Latin Mass Montana website. In October of 2021, moving back, the bishop himself met with numerous parishioners at St. Richard in Columbia Falls who attend the 8 a.m. TLM in the wake of Pope Francis' motu proprio. Bishop Vetter stated at the meeting, St. Richard is the Latin Mass parish of the diocese and nothing will change regarding the TLM at St. Richard. So congratulations to the bishop. He didn't hold true to his word, and now he alienated a bunch of parishioners, and they should be contacting the SSPX. And this is just rotten. I mean, we hear stories about rotten bishops all the time. There's a lot more rotten bishop stories. Don't worry about that. And a lot more rotten bishop stories I'll be covering today. So, the Quebec bishop bans unjabbed from Mass. A Quebec bishop. Let me see. I did the Google Translate here, but I'm not in Canada. Let me see if I can open this, or if it'll translate for me. Looks like it will. Okay, letter from bishop. Oh, this is the bishops to the Catholics of Quebec. We, the Catholic bishops of Quebec. Okay, that makes more sense. Anyway, they issued a statement, and a clip of this statement. They say, as humanity faces the risks posed by the government, not only has the right, but above all, the duty to intervene to ensure the health and safety of all. Not so sure I agree with that. It is the duty of the state, even if the decisions taken are imperfect and questionable, made at the cost of scientific and political compromises. I don't like where they're going here, and then you'll see. For a time, we accept that the jab passport is required to access a place of worship, even if this measure upsets us deeply. I'll bet you're really upset. Otherwise, you'd be fighting against it. However, we remain in contact with the government authorities to remind them that this requirement goes against our beliefs and to ensure that it will be lifted as soon as it is safe to do so. I'm sure. Just like they'll make accommodations for the truckers, right? No, they're rotten. They need to be resisted. Bishops and the Canadian government. Benedict's handlers, Pope Benedict's handlers personally requested forgiveness from abuse survivors on Tuesday in a letter responding to a report that faulted his handling of cases during his tenure as Munich Archbishop. I actually added the word handlers, but I think you understand why. I think he's a prisoner in the Vatican. All indications point to Benedict being questionable whether or not Benedict even speaks for himself. Whenever he releases a statement, who knows? Thanks for joining us on the live stream. Bishop Zanchetta trial to begin in February. Argentine Bishop Gustavo Zanchetta will be tried in criminal court February 21st. In the Argentinian criminal court, Zanchetta is charged with simple sexual abuse against two individuals who were seminarians at the time. Wow, that's horrific. After a series of accusations were sent to Pope Francis, the pontiff accepted Zanchetta's resignation in 2017. The prelate Zanchetta claimed I'm assuming that's Zanchetta. This is from Crux. Claimed he was leaving for health reasons. Yeah. Francis told Mexican broadcaster Televisa that after accepting the bishop's resignation from Ordains, he sent Zanchetta to Spain to receive psychological treatment. Afterwards, in the Pope's own words, he parked the bishop in Italy, where he's been living in the Santa Marta residence, a hotel which within Vatican grounds where Pope Francis has lived since the beginning of his pontificate. So they're roommates. Pope Francis, this guy was accused of sexual assault of seminarians, plural. And Pope Francis said, "Why don't you come to be my roommate?" Makes total sense, doesn't it? Not something I would want to do, but that's just me. Going back to Canada, St. Patrick Basilica Parish in Ottawa canceled all 5 Sunday Masses this past Sunday, closing church doors on the second weekend of trucker demonstrations. There you go. All are welcome. Speaking of the truckers, in a homily, Edmonton Archbishop Richard Smith cast the truckers and protesters objecting job mandates as the rebellious and hard-hearted angry mob, both groups forming a convoy of resistance, rejecting God's divine directives. Far from inhibiting freedom, he says, far from inhibiting freedom, obedience to divine mandates is liberty's necessary prerequisite. Let me read that again. Far from inhibiting freedom, obedience to divine mandates is liberty's necessary prerequisite. Is he saying that Trudeau is divinely inspired? I think he's inspired by a spirit. This is from what's his name? Magister. Is it Sandro Magister? I'm not sure. Magister from Italy. He said on the list of cardinals that Francis would like to see as a successor, there is one new name that has quickly jumped to the top of the rankings. It is that of Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, Archbishop of Luxembourg. Also on the list is Cardinal Tagle of the Philippines. But Hollerich, remember, Taylor Marshall said he was a heretic. And this Hollerich supports the ordination of women, and he supports LMNOP activity. So there you go. Pope Francis favors him. What a surprise. Jesuit. What do you expect? Another bad Argentinian bishop. Man, this is getting ridiculous, huh? Francis has strange roommates. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty odd, isn't it? A lot of strange people live in the Vatican. Another bad bishop from Argentina. Bishop Eduardo Maria Tausig of the Diocese of San Rafael, Argentina, resigned. Pope Francis accepted his resignation. The bishop had incurred the anger of many of his faithful when he prohibited the distribution of Holy Communion on the tongue as a virus measure in June 2020. He also faced the ire of his flock because the diocese's Holy Mary, Mother of God Seminary, which was flourishing compared to other seminaries, was closed because its professors and seminarians were also considered favorable to communion on the tongue. They don't care about reverent liturgy. They don't care about reverent practices. That's just what it is. They don't want you to be Catholic. Let's see. At the time, diocesan spokesperson Father Antonio Alvarez and said Bishop Tausig was not responsible for shutting down the seminary in August 2020, but that the decision came from the Congregation for the Clergy in Rome because of the extent of disobedience shown by professors and seminarians at Santa Maria Madre de Dios, who refused to distribute communion only in the hand, as Bishop Tausig had ordered. Wow. So they're blaming Rome for shutting down the seminary because people want to be Catholic. They want to embrace their Catholic heritage by receiving communion on the tongue. They want to oppose sacrilege, liturgical abuse, whatever you call it. But that's too much. So they shut down your seminaries. What do you think about that? There's an article in the tablet from United Kingdom, Britain. Father Tom Doyle of England expressed concern about conservative men coming out of seminaries who are so doctrinaire and completely lacking in real pastoral work. He said, these ultra-conservative young men want to walk around with all the vestments of the 1950s and say the Latin Mass. It is a kind of a romanticism. He said they firmly believe in this idea that once they are ordained, they are sacred beings, that they are radically different. Isn't that what the priesthood is? Once you're ordained, you receive the mark of the priesthood. And this guy's a priest. Do you worry about that a little bit, maybe? Criticizing a mythology of priests as men who are ontologically changed at ordination, he said that the 16th century French teaching has been resurrected by Pope John Paul II. Pope John Paul II, the traditionalist. Oh boy. Better not tell that to the people at the SSPX, Father Doyle. Father Doyle, who is an addictions therapist, warned that the church's mishandling of allegations of abuse and abusers was linked to a misconception of the clergy and bishops as the essence of the church and essential for salvation. He said, to believe that we need the rituals, that we need the bishops, and we need the clergy to make it from this existence to the next is fallacious. So he's trashing his own vocation. No wonder he identifies as an addictions therapist and not a priest. All right, let's talk about Bishop Conley. Bishop Conley's diocese. This is not good. Cathedral of the Risen Christ Parish. Cathedral in Lincoln, Nebraska. Bishop Conley's Cathedral. There was a letter from the pastor of the parish. He said, I wanted to bring attention to two matters. The first concerns a recently added communion rail. The current communion rail is placing the dignity of the Holy Eucharist at risk due to the danger of tripping and or falling in the narrow space between the rail and the passageway. Upon consultation with Bishop Conley and the resident priest, it was therefore decided that the rail should be removed. The date has now been set for the afternoon of today, Monday, February 14th. At that point, parishioners will be asked to receive either standing or kneeling at the Holy Communion stations. Secondly, in light of the recent legislation, Holy Father regulating celebrations of the preconciliar liturgy and other sacraments, Bishop Conley and I have determined that as of Saturday, February 19th, it will no longer be possible for the cathedral to host these celebrations on Saturday mornings at 8:15 a.m. The celebration of the Holy Mass and, of course, all other celebrations of the sacraments will therefore take place in accordance with typical additions currently enforced throughout the Roman Church. So he canceled the Latin Mass at 8:15 on Saturday mornings. Are you kidding me? It's not in the way of anything else. That's pathetic. And this is Bishop Conley, who's supposedly a good bishop. And he agreed to this. What? Are you kidding me? They're not going to stand for us. Even the good bishops won't stand up for us. Cardinal Mueller unleashed a tirade. He said, now is a time of tribulation and psychological terror, and Orthodox Catholics are being persecuted in some countries. This is culminating in martyrdom. Usually this has come from the outside, but now it's from the inside. In our countries that have old Christian traditions, it's a new situation. As in regards to the German bishops, he said they relativize the Catholic faith but remain with their titles. Cardinals, bishops, theology professors, but in reality they don't believe what the church is saying. And he describes such peoples as materialists, whose basis of belief is not in creation and revelation, but in pseudosciences. Okay, great. Cardinal Mueller warning that the blasphemy of LMNOP couples promoted by the German, warning that the blessings of LMNOP couples promoted by German bishops is an absolute blasphemy, because it is a negotiation of the constitution of human beings as man and woman, and there can be no blessing there. Looking forward, the cardinal said, it is up to Pope Francis and the College of Cardinals to step in and discipline these prelates in the synodal way before it's too late. I think it's too late already. If you expect Pope Francis to step in and discipline them, I don't know what to tell you. Other than keep on waiting. Because you're going to be waiting for a while. Flipping back to Canada. There's an London, Ontario bishop. He issued a statement. And let me see, did he ban the old mass? He said the provision will be made suitable for relocation. Let's see here. Oh, he also banned Irreverent Novus Ordo. He said, I direct the legislation of, what is it? In his letter, the Holy Father notes that the fact that features of the pre-Vatican II Eucharistic liturgy have been introduced into the Novus Ordo and have led to distortions. So the Novus Ordo, basically what these bishops are doing, they're acknowledging the Novus Ordo is its own rite. It's a new rite created at Vatican II. Can you even do that? Can you create a rite out of thin air? Because that's what happened. He said, therefore, I direct the legislation of the general instruction of the Roman Missal is to be faithfully observed by both priest and faithful, and that no rubrics, gestures, or customs to be found in the Missale Romanum of 1962, which have been abrogated and are no longer found in the general instruction of the Roman Missal, are to be incorporated into the celebration of the Mass as found in the new Roman Missal. The Eucharist is to be celebrated at a freestanding altar with the priest facing the assembly and in the language of the gathered faithful. Okay, what if there's Spanish speakers? Are you going to do a hybrid Spanish-English Mass? I mean, this is so ridiculous and ambiguous, it's unbelievable. Okay. Who's next? Another Ontario bishop. Father Z actually had something to say about this. Hamilton, Ontario. He said, Father Z said, I've been told the Bishop of Hamilton threw out 3 seminarians for attending a Latin Mass. They have moved to another diocese. Well, that's one way to get rid. That's one way to destroy your diocese. Good job. Not really. There's a letter that was written by the auxiliary bishop of Hamilton, and Father Z comments on this quite a bit. He says the moto proprio, M-O-T-O, and Father Z says the Motorola theme. He has the Motorola theme. Hello, Moto. Let's see. The sacrament of matrimony is to be celebrated using the 2017 edition of the Order of Celebrating Matrimony issued by the CCCB. I think that's the Canadians' version of the USCCB, probably just as useless. Following the celebration of matrimony outside Mass, Mass using the 1962 Missal may be celebrated. Permission of the ordinary or his delegate must be requested and received prior to the celebration. So you can celebrate marriage outside of the liturgy and in the old rite. Like this is these people just they're making stuff up, and they're not very smart. They're not very creative. They're really not. I mean, come on, it's pretty ridiculous. All right, now the stories you've been waiting for, and I don't have a lot of comments on this because it's still a pretty new story. The U.S. District of the Society of St. Pius X will soon be releasing a statement regarding a meeting between Father David Pagliarini, the Superior General of the SSPX, and Pope Francis. So, the SSPX Superior met with Pope Francis. Now, this Superior General, I believe he was jab happy. He's released statements supporting the jab, so I don't know. We'll see. And getting back to Lincoln, Nebraska, we're going to return there. The FSSP, I was wondering what was going to happen with them, and I've been a little bit down on them. I've been saying they might not fight back. Well, retired Bishop Robert Finn, age 68, formerly in Kansas City, St. Joseph, ordained 5 subdeacons for the Fraternity of St. Peter. The Pontifical Romanum ceremony took place in the chapel of Saints Peter and Paul at Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary, that's the FSSP Seminary in Lincoln, Nebraska, on February 12th, and was only open to the family and invited guests of those ordained. And from what I have seen, this is against the directives, the dubia of the Latin Mass, dubia released by Archbishop Roche, or Roach, or however you say his name. So this is resistance. Bishop Robert Finn. And he's a name to watch out for because maybe he will ordain priests in the old rite. That's a possibility. The FSSP, good. I'm glad to see it. Francis has strange roommates. Oh, and we're talking about that. We're talking about church militant here. Oh boy. I don't know, guys. Oh, the cathedral. I didn't even know the cathedral had a communion rail. Well, the cathedral is actually quite ugly. Embarrassing, really. This is talking about the Lincoln Cathedral. I don't know. I haven't taken a look at it. Just as I wonder you're talking into it, because there's still a Saturday morning real traditional Latin Mass at the FSSP chapel. Well, maybe that was the idea. I don't know. Did they compete against each other? I don't know. Roman says, I had a dream nightmare in January 2020 about what's going on now. We will see antique altars stripped down, torn down further. Well, and this is the iconoclast heresy, people. That's what it is. It's the iconoclast heresy that it happened in it really started in the 1950s with the ugly church architecture, but then after Vatican II, the destruction of altars, they put a folding table in front of the altar where they have high altars. The cathedral, Lincoln Cathedral, does not have a proper high altar. Well, come on, Bishop Connolly put it there. Reverence is a bad, bad thing. Once traditional, reverent churches will be turned into social gathering places even further. If you let it happen, yes. But if you don't let it happen, then it won't happen. I'm telling you, this is why the laity need to stand up. The purpose of going to Mass will be to fraternize with our brothers and sisters in love and peace. I'm not sure how to say that word. I feel kind of dumb. I love my FSSP parish. Christ the King, Sarasota. Really? You have to... that's in Florida, right? All right. Well, and that's what I have to say. So the SSPX Superior Meeting with Pope Francis, I have no idea what that's about. People on Twitter don't know what that's about. There will be an announcement from the SSPX regarding this. It's important. Anytime the Vatican meets with the SSPX, it's pretty significant. But is there anything? I don't know. I think that I don't want to hype this up so much because I don't know that it really will turn into anything, though. I think they'll just say, okay, they met. And then maybe they talked about something and it might have been. I don't know. I think people might hype it up for more than it's worth. That's really kind of my take on this. But it's also significant to mention, so I felt like I'd mention it. Now the bishop, so we see resistance in Chicago from the Institute of Christ the King. We'll see if Supich tries to. Supich can't really do anything because they own their church. That's the thing. He gave them the deed to the church, so he's probably kicking himself right now for doing that. But he was always against tradition. So I don't know why he gave them the deed. I don't know. But they have a lot of people and they have good donors, I guess. I mean, and I'm sure he didn't anticipate canceling masses. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't. I don't know. I'm sure he didn't really anticipate canceling masses due to the virus, but that took away a lot of his population, a lot of donations. Now, a lot of these places are still on government money. They still have the government loans. Do they? I don't know. Did that run out yet? Is that program going to run out soon? Because whenever the financial statements, they're not going to reflect that. Probably depending on when the fiscal year is, the financial statements probably won't reflect that for another year or so, whenever the government money ends. So we're not going to see a real financial impact for like a year, at least. But when it happens, it happens. It's going to be big. And Cardinal Supich is already closing parishes because of it. As for the FSSP, Bishop Connolly's probably aware of Bishop Finn ordaining subdeacons. So that's a good thing. We have a decent Bishop Dwayne. Wasn't he the one that banned Reverend Novus Ordos? Yeah. But Bishop Finn, he's one to watch out for. I heard his name, and I was like, I don't know what. I was like, I don't know. I've never really heard of Bishop Finn. I'll have to research because retired Bishop Finn. He's 68. I think he might be an auxiliary bishop. I don't know. 68-year-olds don't retire unless there's a reason to. So I don't really know unless he took a really, really early retirement. I don't know what else. I don't know. But it seems as though I'll do some more research. I'll let you know. We need a pope who will ban the Novus Ordo. That's going to take a while. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. This has been EVTN News. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.